You just got back from the grocery store and you need a minute to recover from that receipt. Seems I do this every week these days too. The price of everything has just shot through the roof, and the quality of some fresh items seems to be falling as well. But what if the solution isn't in a supermarket aisle, but in our own backyards? In this video, we're going to break down why this is happening. And then we're going to get our hands dirty and see if a simple home garden can really be the key to fighting back against food inflation. Sticker shock you get at the checkout, it's not just in your head, it's a global problem with some seriously deep roots. For a while now, prices for everything have been climbing, but it is different with food because we all have to eat. So what's really driving this? First up are rising input and operating costs. Think of it as a domino effect. Everything a producer needs to grow food and everything a company needs to get it to you is more expensive. The diesel for tractors and delivery trucks has seen huge price jumps. When it costs more to move the food, we pay more at the store. Throw in rising labor costs and you've got the perfect recipe for a pricier grocery bill. Then you have the big headline grabbing events that throw the whole system into chaos. We all remember the pandemic creating bizarre shortages. Geopolitical conflicts like the war in Ukraine send massive ripple effects through the global supply of critical crops like wheat or sunflower oil. And closer to home, outbreaks of things like avian flu can devastate poultry populations, which is why egg prices have sometimes gone absolutely haywire. But maybe the biggest, most long-term issue is our planet's changing climate. Extreme weather isn't a once-in-a-lifetime event anymore, it's the new normal, and it is wreaking havoc on agriculture. Unprecedented droughts and heat waves are becoming more frequent and intense. We have seen it here in our own space, and it's been tough. We will go outside in a bit, and I will show you some good and not so good things here. But as an example, a severe drought in Arizona and California in 2022 was linked to a spike in vegetable prices of up to 80% for certain items. Heat waves in Europe threaten traditional crops like olives, while in West Africa, extreme heat has decimated cocoa harvests, sending chocolate prices soaring. Researchers have even coined a term for this, climateflation. Projections now suggest that continued global warming could add over a percentage point to annual food inflation by 2035. This isn't a temporary blip, it's a long-term shift that will keep building as long as global temperatures rise. While the wild double-digit inflation of 2022 has cooled down to a more normal annual rate of around 2.9% in the US, prices aren't going down, they're just rising a bit slower from an already high level. All these factors combine to create a perfect storm that leaves you in the grocery aisle staring at a head of lettuce and wondering how it got so expensive. It's a frustrating, powerless feeling. But that brings us to the big question. So what on earth can we do about it? We can't single-handedly fix global supply chains or reverse climate change overnight, but we can change our own personal food economy. And that's what led me right here to our growing space. I decided to run an experiment. Could growing my own food be a real, tangible answer to this problem? We arrived here 5 years ago, and this is what the land looked like, lifeless. So we set about creating the growing areas, and the first 2 years took a while to learn the new continental warm conditions and set up the infrastructure. The goal was simple. Can we become more self-reliant by growing our own fruit and veg? Regular viewers will know that we managed to grow 500 kilos in year 3 and 532 kilos in year 4. Being self-sufficient is not the goal here. That takes all your time and requires an income flow, which for many is not a reality, but maybe a dream. Okay, real talk, I would be doing you a huge disservice if I pretended this was all effortless. The truth about growing your own food is that it takes work and patience. Your first enemy will be weeds. They show up uninvited and steal water and nutrients from your plants. And the best defense is a good offense. A thick layer of mulch, like straw or shredded leaves, will save you hours of weeding. Then come the pests. You'll quickly become an expert on which bugs are friends and which are definitely foes. It's a constant battle, but there are plenty of organic ways to manage them. From planting certain flowers nearby to using simple insecticidal soaps. You just have to be vigilant. And of course, there's the time. It needs regular watering, checking, and harvesting. It's a commitment. But what I and a lot of other gardeners have found is that the time spent in the garden feels more like a reward than a chore. It's a little bit of exercise, a little bit of meditation, and an incredible way to connect with your food. This whole journey has been a massive learning experience full of successes and, let's be honest, a few tragic failures. If you're finding this breakdown useful and want to see more of the day-to-day tips and tricks I'm figuring out in my own garden, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll be sharing updates on what's working, what's not, and how you can apply it all to your own space. So after moving all that compost, battling the bugs, and finally tasting the fruits of my labor, what's the final verdict? Is a simple home garden the ultimate secret to financial freedom from the supermarket? No, and any channel that tells you it is selling you a fantasy. It's just not realistic for most people to grow enough food to completely replace their grocery bill. The startup costs are real and there's a learning curve, but here is the honest and, I think, more powerful truth. Growing your own food is an incredibly effective tool to help not only reduce your weekly bill, but also increase the quality of your produce. It's a fantastic way to hedge against the crazy price swings at the store. You might not grow all your calories, but you can be strategic. You can choose to grow those high-value items that really make a dent in your spending. Think of those expensive fresh herbs, salad greens, and heirloom tomatoes that normally feel like a luxury. The real return on investment isn't just financial. It's the taste of a truly fresh tomato, still warm from the sun, that is a universe away from anything you can buy in a store. It's the peace of mind knowing exactly what went into your food. No weird pesticides or preservatives, and better quality too. It's the mental and physical boost from spending time outside doing something real and meaningful. And you don't need a huge yard to do it. You can do this in containers on a balcony. You can start with a single pot of mint on your windowsill. The most important step is just to start. The forces driving up our grocery bills are huge and complicated, and it's easy to feel powerless, but growing your own food, even just a little bit, is a profoundly empowering act. It won't solve everything, but it is a concrete step toward more security, better health, and a little more freedom. You are taking a piece of your food supply back into your own hands, and in a world that feels increasingly out of our control, that is a powerful thing. So let me take you around and show you my growing spaces. As I said, the successes and some failures, and also the changes I want to make for next year. Right, let's have a walk around. Now before we do that, I just want to show you this. Put those in my pocket. This is a pair of Felco secateurs, and these are expensive. They can be up to 100 quid, which is a lot of money for these things, and I don't really like them, mainly because of this. To open them, push your thumb, open them, and then to close them, do that, and then you try, but they never close quite right. A lot of money for these things. And then if you want to service them, you can try and service them yourself, or you send them back to Felco and they'll do it for you and charge you even more money. But I don't really like them. So when I came here 5 years ago, I bought these guys. But what I like about these is there's none of this mucking around with that catch. It's simply there. And then you close it. And the great thing about it is you can be like a cowboy in a western. So the cowboy in the western draws his secateurs, pushes that, it's open, and it's done its cutting, closes. None of this mucking around with those guys. Much better. 20 quid. I'll link that below. Now, they also do a pair of scissors. Same principle. Click them open, nearly finished. Close them. And we need these for the greenhouse. So let's go and have a look. So we're coming down to the greenhouse that some of you will know we had built this year, and it's the first usage of it, so I'm still getting used to it. So let's have a look inside, because I want to show you the chilies. Now, you might have seen the video where I spoke about sowing your chilies using wet wipes, because if you get chili residue on your fingers and stick them in your eyes, Very well hurts. So these are the chilies. That's a rare sight. I've got a bee sitting on the flower of this particular chili plant. And if we zoom back out a little bit and come down to the base, we've got a lot of these ants here. I don't know if you can make them out. And then on the ground, there's loads of these ants. And these are carpenter ants, and they eat dead wood. Now, normally when you see ants, you'd be looking for other insects that these guys might be milking for their honeydew, like aphids, for example. But I can't see any on there, and something has been eating the leaves of these guys. You turn that over, there's something on them, but I don't know what it is. But you can see from the plant, it's not looking very happy. So I don't know. What I might do is spray these three with the baking soda solution. In fact, these three and these two here, and see what happens. But the others, the other side, are doing all right. So using my scissors, I want to harvest some of these chilies. The ants don't like me being on them. I'm going to harvest the reds and the greens. Doing it for two reasons. One, they need to be harvested, and also I'm hoping by doing this it will encourage these others to start to fruit. So this variety of chili is an unknown, because going back to that video I did of sowing the seeds with the wet wipes, I named these the mystery chilies because I found them growing randomly in the veg patch last year. And we dried them in the kitchen. And if you recall, that's where I got these seeds from. Now through here, I've sown some random radish seeds, so I don't want to walk across there. I'm going to come around the back. I'm going to take these greens off here as well. Now if I get any more fruits on these things, fine, it's a bonus. But if I don't, doesn't matter. And what do you think I'm going to do with these then? Any ideas? I've found a recipe for making a chili jam. But true to my own form, I'm going to modify it. Basically, you need to make a paste using these guys with some onions and also a couple of peppers, and we're going to look at those in a sec. Mix it into a paste. Add a bit of sugar and make your jam. And I'll make a video about it as I do it. Okay, so that's all I've got for those guys. That's not too bad. Looks quite colourful. And then I've got some very late developing ones on the left. Those are the Tangerine Dreams. And these guys in the middle with no flowers on are a cayenne type. Can't remember, I'll have to look it up and I'll let you know. I'll put it in the video. Let's have a look at the peppers, which are on the other side of the greenhouse. So as we've already said in the video, that being self-sufficient is near on impossible. I don't think it's an easy thing to do. But like I say, being more self-reliant has got to be a better thing. So those chilies I've just picked, they're that fresh. You never get them that fresh in the supermarket. But what you might find is if you go to your local vegetable store or grower, you can pick up some great things. Now these peppers, very slowly giving me some fruits. I've got one there and there's a tiny one there. Got one here. So they are slowly but surely growing. And I don't quite understand why these aren't growing as fast as, say, some that have been growing outside in a different location. But like I say, it's a learning curve. There's no ant problems in this side. There's a few pollinators buzzing around. First time we've seen any in this year. But over there, that is an issue that I need to address. So we'll go and get these guys washed. Do you want to try it? And we're going to look at something else in the main garden. Okay, come on then, we're going up to the veggie garden. Now there isn't a lot to see here. First thing we can look at is this rainbow chard. It's a cool season crop, doesn't like a lot of heat, and now the temperature seems to have dropped. This is beginning to come into its own, and all we do with this stuff is literally pick it. I'm going to take that one because it needs to come off anyway. Now we can do two things with that. Strip the leaves off. This is not, we're not going to be eating this, but I'm using it as an example. So you would normally strip off the leaves like so. That you can treat as spinach and cook it in the same way. Obviously not this one. And then with this stalk, we ferment them. So this isn't something you're going to get in a supermarket. So basically all the stalks, like I say, not this, too far gone, but all these stalks here, we can ferment those in a 20% salt solution. Chopping that up, ready to go on the compost heap. And if you want to know how to do that, just ask me and I'll give you the recipe. But you've got a fermented chard stalk that's full of probiotics, great for your tum. Fresh leaves that you can steam and treat like spinach, have them with scrambled eggs, for example, anything you like. You can't buy that in the supermarket. So it's another win. I know we were here in the last video, but look at these boys. This is their first year being here, and they're loving it. And quite strong. Oh, and look, got some more here. So these are doing well. Now, let's look at something else. This lavender, I hardly touch, but what I've been doing is, I've been pulling off the flowers, like this. You let them dry. Oh, there's a grasshopper. You let them dry, you can add them to a tea. Now again, this is so easy to grow. Stick it in the ground, let it do its thing. Pollinators come to these guys, which is a great food source, and you get to make yourself a tea, which you can't buy in your local supermarket. Now you might recall a few weeks ago that I wanted to transplant some beetroots, and there's some smaller ones there, but when they first went in, they didn't look very happy with themselves. They looked pretty fed up with me. But if you come round to here and look at that, that is a healthy, good sized beetroot. Again, we can use these leaves in the same way as the chard. So we can pick them for the salad leaves, and we can use the stalks to ferment. I wouldn't necessarily pick those for a leaf, they're a bit too big, but the other guys, a little bit smaller, absolutely ideal. But again, you can cook them the same way as chard, but the size of that beetroot in a no-dig bed is brilliant. So in front of us here, this is pak choy. I sowed that beginning of July into module trays, and then I transplanted that at the end of July. 4 weeks later, I'm now beginning to get very close to be able to harvest. In fact, I can see a couple of them there that I can harvest. Again, you can't buy pak choy this fresh in your supermarket, and it's pretty expensive, like most things, as we've already discussed. But again, a great thing. You can steam it, fry it, do whatever you like with it, stir fry. But it's a very good thing, and it's very quick to grow, quite resilient. And coming around this side here, the back of those, we've got these broccoli. Now the great thing about these brocks is that They're not getting attacked by flea beetle because that season seems to have disappeared. But again, these were late when sown at the same time as the pak choys. Obviously they take a bit longer to grow, but they're putting on quite a good amount of growth. So the idea is I'll get a main flower there, cut it, and then we'll get some florets from the side. Be interesting to see how it goes. But once again, fresh broccoli straight out of your ground, it's a winner. So where the pak choys and the broccolis are, you remember they were where we had the carrots and the onions, and in here was the same. And you might recall the other day when I prepped this bed, I just wanted to get something in there. So these are radishes. These are your normal pink radishes on this side, and on this side is, some people call them moolies. They're a long white radish, go down to about that far. The idea is to have something in the ground to keep the life ticking over, and if we get a food crop out of it, great. But again, when was the last time you saw moolies in your supermarket? So the whole point is, I'm never going to be self-sufficient. I still need to go to a supermarket to get shampoo or deodorant, toothpaste. And on the vegetable side, I can't grow absolutely everything that we need here on a yearly basis. So I need to find another source, another supply. Maybe I can trade with a neighbour, or in our particular case, we found a fantastic fresh vegetable shop not far from us that we can use. So getting to know a local producer is a good thing. Now, here's a failure of the year: butternut squash. You can see it's full of yellow flowers, but we've had very few pollinators this year, mainly because of the heat. What happens is that if a plant gets to 35 degrees Celsius, it's not going to produce nectar, and so the bees aren't going to come because there's no food. It's not going to waste its energy going to that plant when it can use its energy to fan its own hive. So we've not really seen that many fruits, but now as the weather's cooler, I'm beginning to see these guys. But I still need a pollinator to go in there. And I don't necessarily mean ants, because they need to go from one flower to another. So there's lots of flowers in there, but we're nowhere near the same quantity of fruits that we want, or that we used to, because as usual, I sowed these in April of this year. They were growing very well in the summer house, and then I brought them outside because by then the frosts had gone. No, sod's law. Frost came back for a couple of days and wiped out all the plants. It wasn't just the butternut squashes, melons, cucumbers, everything taken out. And because it was so late in the year, it wasn't long enough, I didn't have enough time to start new ones. And this is the situation that we're in now. Well, will we get a crop? We'll see. What a nice flower though, haven't we? Now this is another gadget that I like. You've seen me using it already. And basically this knife has a hook on it. It's called a pruning knife. And it's ideal for doing this. So here we go. We have got one of our round courgettes or zucchinis. And this curve of this blade allows me just to go in and gently cut the stalk off this. I'm trying to do it without cutting any more of the plant than I need to. Way, out he comes. Now normally I grow the long versions of these guys, but I decided this year I wanted to do something a bit different. Now when did you last see, or when have you ever seen round zucchinis or courgettes in your supermarket? So you can grow things that you can't necessarily buy. This is a great example. You can have the long ones if you want, it's fine. What I'll do with these guys is I'll chop them all up, put them in a roasting pan, add a bit of black pepper, salt and olive oil, throw them in the oven, and then when they're cooked, bring them out, let them cool down, pop them in a freezer bag, and then when we want to use them in the winter, for example, bring them out, reheat them in the oven. Got roasted courgette. Don't always have to eat ratatouille. Now we always do well with these guys. Again with my knife, I can actually take out some of these leaves, so I'll take that one out of there. I'll show you what this is. Trying to get him. There you go. I call them tocs. It's pronounced Turks, but I prefer my phrase. Is there any more in there? The leaves on these squash plants, zucchinis, or these Turks, are quite spiky, so you've got to be careful. So you have to move the leaves around. I'm noticing there's some small baby ones there, so still got a bit of growth to go, but I'm going to come around the other side. The thing about these Turks is that you want to get them just right. If you let them go over, these tend to be used mainly as a soup in the summer. The lady of the house here will grate them and freeze them. Another one. So peel those, grate them, freeze them. We have had some that were yellow before, so they'd gone over with regards to being able to use them as they do normally here. But when they go yellow, we tried an experiment last year where we roasted them, scraped out the insides, added garlic to them. Quite a nice spread on toast. So that's another win. Add that to the list. Now, just before we take those in to get weighed, have a look at these guys here. These are the onions, or some of the onions that we've harvested. They've been sat in here for a couple of weeks, well, a couple of months actually, slowly curing, ready to be stored in the winter. Grown from sets, not from the seed, and not sown in the winter, sown in March. And they've been very good. And again, throughout the growing season, I'll show you how I do it. And now we're in the beans, and you can see that they're beginning to fade somewhat. A great thing, as I've said before recently, that the mulch that we put down there has helped us bed out no end. We've got a few beans left to harvest, but they don't sound as snappy as they first did. But they're not being flown in from Kenya, they're grown here. And the effort to do this is quite minimal. But we've had, I think it's about 15-16 kilos out of this one section here, so that's pretty good going really. It's a great return on the investment of the seeds. And what I'll do with these is when we clear the beds, this is where I'm going to be planting garlic next year. Have you ever seen these things in the supermarket? I don't think you have, because I haven't. You might have seen the yellow ones and the green ones and the white ones, but you've not seen a pair like that, have you? Now, it's not perfect by any means. It's hard work, especially if you're doing it on your own like I am. But the rewards are worthwhile. And if you can be more self-reliant on the things you want to grow and eat, then that's got to be a good thing. Now, over the next few weeks, I've got to clear all these beds ready for next year and develop the new ones we've already created. So if you want to know how I get on with all that, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you soon.